First of all, I have to say thank you to all of us and to join our DINSTAR training. This is the first training in New Year. Later, maybe we will conduct more trainings for our product, or maybe integration with third-party PBX or third-party gateway and so on. So since the Chinese New Year is coming, I must say Happy Chinese New Year. Let's be back our topic here. Before we start our agenda, I think everyone should know our DINSTAR background already, right? If you don't have any information or background about our DINSTAR PBX or UC or other digital gateway, maybe you can access our website to see more detail. And we not only provide the UC IP PBX or digital gateway, we also provide the full IP communication solutions, maybe for the SIG phones, analog gateway, SBC, and SIG, and wireless gateway as well. Okay, I will share about some topic here. We will conduct the 6th section here. First of all, I will introduce one of the UC and digital gateway, a lot of the definition, background, and models. And then the second step, I think we start already, no? Second step, I will talk about some external gateways for some user case, particular for some customer transcodings, need the transcoding, and need the legacy integration and so on. The third part, I will configure the demo for the testing purpose. Here I use the two UC. One is the UC 200, another is the UC 120 as one of the trunk gateway for demo purpose. The step 4, I will demonstrate the whole protocol core flow here, and then let you know how the system works in real time. Besides that, I will share about some information about when you configure our E1 gateway or T1 gateway to integrate with other legacy system or E1 port or T1 port. And finally, I think there's a section for the customers or distributor. If you have any problem or any issues, you may leave the message. Our technical guy will give you the message, give you the feedback, and maybe email back or in real time. Okay. So far, I think no problem, right? All of us are coming already, right? I think today I start a little bit earlier. Okay, let me continue here. Before start the technical things, I will share some information about market and some sectors. If you use our DINSTAR PBX or the digital gateway to support the customers to use maybe in some industry or some environment. Here we have some category here by time, call time, or by service, or by user, by different user, or by the geography, or location here. We can see the overview of global VIP market. If you have maybe some business or maybe run the international call or domestic call, you can use our trunk gateway to serve that. And maybe some, distributor or some integrator or service provider to do all kind of the service for maybe ship trunk or hosting PBX Even you can provide maybe the support for the IPBX maintenance. You also can consider our digital gateway or PBX and some other service like fax. If you use the eFax or some paperless solution, you can consider our TG for fax and so on. Of course, and some category here also relate to the users. We have a different user here for corporate user, which is like enterprise. Some company buy the PBX or UC to build up phone system, and some individual user maybe buy the analog gateway or wireless gateway to make a connection by trunk or other service. Here we can see that some geography or category by the location. Here we can see that I think the number one is North America here. North America is number one, I think, in the market, and after then Europe, after then Asia Pacific, include maybe the like Indian, China, or Australian, and the New Zealand or Singapore, and so on. So here is the rest of the world. We can see that maybe in the Africa, maybe some IP is booming there. You still can support the business in there. Of course, here we got some comparison for maybe the hosting PBX. You can see the margin by margin here. We can see the market with the largest size in, I think, 2-3 years ago. And this one is for the, I think, the new increase for here in the some like Asia Pacific, Indian, China, Australia, and New Zealand or Singapore, even the Thailand or Indonesia. So we can see this growing here. And the last table here, we can see that I think the UC communication market in US is in the world is an indication. If the US is growing up, I think the other country will follow up. We can see there's two kind of the service, maybe compare hosting PBX or maybe on-premise. So even our distributor or maybe end users will know that, because our UC can support a multi-tenant system. So if you have some company A, B, C, D, then you can host by one UC solution. Of course, you also can use our UC or to build up the on-premise appliance. Here we list out the 3 category here for our portfolio, PBX portfolio here. We can see we provide not only the small size company for the small size, even the larger size, which is a different model, and build more ports already. And we also offer the customizable PBX. I think it is very large one. So basically, we not only provide the IPBX features, but we combine with E1 or T1, FXO, FXS, even the VoIP and Wi-Fi and so on. So here we can see if customer want to buy the solutions with maybe the some E1 or T1 port, you can use that. Okay, so please make sure you choose maybe your different market, you choose the different model here. And some user may be integrator. If you have some software-based PBX, you also can use that. Here we can see the PBX. You can utilize the E1 or T1 port, and you can install your own PBX software. So like open source software or 3CX and the other PBX and so on. So without any problem. Here we list out the different, you know, the TG or trunk gateway here. We got all the solution covered from the enterprise to the carrier network. Okay, so we not only provide the 1 E1 or 2 E1, we provide the largest one, I think 63 port E1 port already. So we not only provide the PI, we also provide the SS7R2. So maybe if you need the HA, then you can see we support HA or dual power supply already. So based this, we not only provide the PI or U1 port, we also provide the, you know, in our GUI, we provide the very flexible feature for call routings. Later, I will demonstrate how to set the call routing for the PBX users or for the SIP trunk. You can manage that by our TG, okay? And one more thing, I think maybe some user or customer notice, and our DINSTAR gateway not only provide the PI, we also provide SS7 or R2. I think this is an advantage compared to some other competitor, you know. If like some other competitor, if you use SS7 or R2, you have to buy the extra license here. So if you use our TG or digital gateway, you pay once, then as you go, you don't worry about the extra license, extra charges, okay? And here, this link, we list out a lot of the user case. If a customer is interested in that, you can click the link and got more detail here. Because the time is, we don't cover the user case. We just follow the slide and go through, okay? Here, I think typically here we got I see the diagram. If the customer, for example, use the PBX to connect TG, you have to use the SIP trunk, then connect to MTG, then go through the PI, SS7 or R2, okay? And sometimes, you know, customer want to use the MTG to extend the channels, also can be that. So here we use MTG as a switch to manage the many cases in a very flexible ways here. So maybe if you use, you can see, you can configure it in different scenario. Since our UC or IPBX system appliance also build the kind of model already, like FXO or U1 or T1 in number of the port already. But sometimes maybe maybe the company, maybe the business growing up, then more stuff coming, you need more internal call, outgoing call through the U1 or T1. If the hardware cannot be extended or cannot be updated, you have to use the external gateway to make it happen, okay? Then more support. So there are many cases for you know, some customer use the external TG to make a connection. Then after that, they make a PI call, SS7 call, and I only cover the 4 user case here. Give you the region or give you some specification why you use that. Okay. The case one is I just now I say already, because then our IPBX also built the E1 or T1 already, and the customer can use the T1 E1 to make an outgoing call to the telecom. Of course, if you need more channels or more port, you also can add the SIP trunk and go through the MTG. After that, you still can make a call to PRI. So this is two-way already to make more channels. So very flexible and very easy to update all the capability here. User case 2, I think it's our TG provide the more flexible call routing here. Maybe some like the SIP trunk service and international call or domestic call, all can be direct by maybe you can modify the caller ID or prefix. Okay. Here just we saw the diagram here. Here is the example. Here we can see that if you use the extension and call the UC1, then go to, for example, here we go to the port 1. After that, maybe some call policy need change and want to modify and change to a new number, forward to certain numbers here, a certain port. Then you can do that by our number manipulation here. We can see that a lot of the direction you can see, you can control the caller ID, and so on. So here we can see if you call to UC1 and port 1, after change the number and become new number and forward to port 6. After that, you maybe forward to the SIP trunk, another SIP trunk. It's maybe reach to PBX2 and go to the other extension. So this is a very flexible way to manipulate your caller ID or caller ID and so on, depending on your needs. Okay. Here, I think some users use our TG or digital gateway to do the transcoding here. And if you use some like this diagram, so here, if you use, maybe you connect to SIP trunk, you go to maybe other UC or PBX, which maybe require the, for example, codecs G29 or G22, 722, and so on. So maybe you can use our TG to make a transcoding. Here, because we have a report from the string renting. Here we can see that this report, if just the example, okay, if you don't have any transcoding, you can see our CPU, the system CPU is very stable and very low. The usage is very low. So if you make a transcoding from, for example, G729 or ARRI or URI, then the CPU resource will be increased much more. So you can see the difference. So if you customer want to, for example, here you don't want to make a transcoding in UC or in the cloud PBX, you can use our digital gateway to make transcoding. Then reduce by doing that, you can reduce the workload from PBX. All of the stuff, all of the tasks can be done by our TG. So reduce your workload here and here. Some users, I think, use the transcoding car or transcoding solution, or maybe the transcoding in software base. I think it's quite expensive solution already, and not flexible, because since if you use the software-based solution or transcoding car, you still cannot to extend your ability if the session is increased. Okay. So I think that if you use the external gateway, it's very smart and very cost-effective way to reduce the system load. Here, the case for is, I think it's normal already, since we are in the hybrid world already. Some country or some place, even in the one country still got some place still use the E1, some place maybe use a hybrid or E1 or a SIP network. So in some case, if you want to, for example, legacy PBX with T1 or E1, you want to connect to IP network, you have to use the MTG and connect to MTG by SIP trunk. After that, you can connect our PBX or other third-party PBX. So your legacy system will be work with the IP. So it's a perfect solution for you. Okay. Just now I introduced some background for how to use that and maybe some user case. And here I will demonstrate the call flow for the systems. Okay. Here I use the 2 UC or 2 IPBX for testing purpose, and use the other TG for the transfer call. And here we can see the call flow MTG1. Here, if you maybe the extension 100 call to UC1, after that you see that transfer the call by trunk, transfer the port 1, port 0 here. After port 0, then port 2 will take over. After port 2, the port 2 will forward the SIP trunk 2. Finally, then the call will reach to the UC 200. After that, then set the incoming call to other extension. So here we just demonstrate the whole call flow already. But I think in the production, we have seen that maybe you can use our PBX connected by SIP trunk, or by sometimes, maybe the UC 200, 120 and go to the port after maybe port 0, then directly go to the SIP, other UC. It also can be done. Okay, this is a very flexible way to do that. And sometimes just now I saw the legacy system connection here. Maybe you can connect to maybe port 0. After port 0, you use the port 2 or other cable connect to legacy system, which is maybe remote side is E1 or T1. It also can work. Okay, here just I use the port 0 forward to port 2 just for testing purpose. I'm let you know I think the real production and our system, how the system work in real time. So here we use the physical connection, coil will be flowed by RJ45 cable connect together. Okay. And just now I saw the call flow scenario already. I will, in following slide, I will introduce some configuration. See what should we configure. Okay. First of all, we have to configure the first UC. I use here is the UC 120. So here we can see you have to configure your trunk here, and you must set the trunk. Here is the IP for TG, and here is a port we use for SIP. It's by default. Okay. After set the trunking here, we have to set the incoming call, outgoing call. Here, just the example, I set the incoming call and the source from the SIP trunk, then incoming and forward to SIP extension here. So this is incoming, outgoing. But in testing system, we set the incoming call, outgoing call here. Please make sure, don't be confused. After set the first UC, I have to configure the MTG, and I think a few steps to go through. So we can see here, first of all we have to still configure SIP trunk, and here the UC IP here, and we also have to set the call routing. This is the most important step. Okay, you have to follow here. You have to set IP to PSTN and PSTN to PSTN. Here, PSTN is port 0 to port 2. Okay. After that, the port 2 will forward to other PBX. So the following slide will show that. Okay, you can see IP to PSTN call routing. You have to see the SIP trunk and the port. Here we set the 2 direction. Okay, it's opposite. Make sure you're correct. If you set up the system, you have to check here. And here we got the PSTN to PSTN routing here, because we use the port 0 and port 2. So make sure you choose the port 0 and the port 2 here. You can see also same thing. You have to set the 2 routing here. And if the PSTN, if you set the PSTN to IP, you also have to make sure all the configure file set properly. It's same thing as before. After set the TG, we have to set the other UC, for zip trunk. Here we can see the same as before. Here is the IP for TG, and here is the port. The same thing. After that, you have to also set the incoming call, outgoing call to control the call routing here. We set the same thing, incoming call. After that, you forward to other extension. So here we set already. Okay, just now I saw some slide for configuration and background and user case, even our models. I will give me some demos. I will use the call tool extension to make a call each other, and you can see from our GUI so how the call is monitored. Let's see, I have to configure the. I will show you some configuration and then make sure you know the real thing and the call flow, how the call is going through, and the status here. I think this is the first UC here. You can see the. I will demonstrate the call. You later will see because we don't call yet. Here is the other, UC. If you call coming, then I think still empty here. Here, I think we should know that because here I use the port 0 connect to port 2 already. So make sure the port is active. Here we can, you go here, you see here, the port 0 and port 2 is connected together and active already. So I use the other phone to call each other. I think the 120, I think. I will start the call, see what will happen. Hello, hello, hello. Okay. I think when the call coming, I think we can see here. We can see from PBX there is a trunk already. I start talking already. So caller ID, calling ID, and so on. So this is one of the record. And the second one is the same thing, and display the call record and call routing maybe. And TG we can see here. I think the TG very interesting. So and I think everyone should know that already because the call established already, set up already. We can see we use the channel 1 to make call. So the port we occupy in blue color, and this is a signaling. So we can see the 16 is up and then active. So the call is going on. And we also can see because here we use the port 0 and port 2 already. So we can see the live data is established already. So the frame is data is transferred already. So here we can see that if I make a call, go to the PBX 1, PBX 2, then all the record is here. I will hang up the call here. After that, I hang up the call. So we can back the monitor here. We can see the browser. The GUI is the call. I think the hang up already. So the channel is released. There's empty already. As here also same thing is empty. Okay, let me back the PowerPoint here. Okay, just now I make a call already. Just now I saw the call flow already. Just here is a screen captured by GUI. So we can see if your customer maybe you have UC or MTG. you can maybe set up go to the menu to check it. Here we go to the data and concurrent call. After that, you can see the data or CDR already. Here it's the captured from the E1 channels. Use the channel 2 here, just to indicate it's talking between the 2 extension and so on. This is another PBX. Okay. I think because just now I demonstrate how to configure the E1 or T1. I don't cover the how to set up the PI in detail. We don't show you the parameters. Here we can see it if you maybe integrator or maybe distributor you have any problem, maybe connect to remote site. This is a E1 port or T1 port. You have to must check. Okay, must check some parameter. Here I just list out the 3 point you have to check. Of course, I think the more than 3 point here. For example, here if you use the net remote site, have to use the CPE. So make sure it's always opposite. And sometimes user maybe confuse the cloud source. If our TG as maybe choose as maybe the local source, then remote site or opposite site have to remote source. So if you use I think the name only, if you use the master here as a master, then remote site will be slave. Okay. Of course, you also have to check the CRC or no CRC. Make sure your both sides have to match the CRC. If you don't have a CRC or disable CRC from outside from remote side, you also have to disable it. So there are a lot of the configuration you have to check, but make sure your three things you have to done. And just now I show you only the PI. Maybe if you have maybe SS7 or R2. I think SS7 R2 more complex. So maybe in the future, maybe very soon, maybe we conduct other training and tell you how to configure SS7 maybe for load testing. Same thing, but you have to know the PI or SS7 different, so we can set that. I think later maybe we arrange the next session for that topic. Okay. So far, it's all our demonstration and tell you how to connect together with the TG and external, the PBX with external TG, and some user case I also covered. Maybe for certain, maybe the requirement if you need the external gateway to do something flexible, you have to configure as I mentioned before. And here we just list out the 4 user case, but I think the more than that. And if you have any requirement, any technical maybe problem, you can consult our technical guys. Thank you for joining our meeting. Thank you for support our business, and I will see you again. Happy Chinese New Year.